Hi, everyone. It's Jen Lynn here with Lena Rodriguez from Australia. And she is going to be doing a past life reading for me, which we thought you guys would find interesting. This will take probably about an hour. I'm going to edit the video down a little bit, so you may see some cuts in it to try to shrink it under 30 minutes so it's a little more watchable. But we thought you guys would enjoy seeing this. So on that, I'm going to turn it over to Lena.
Oh, thanks, Jen Lynn. And isn't this a great idea? I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. And I hope other people, email you and request this. As I was telling you earlier, my best friend, who I've known for like 50 years, had a past life reading with you and she thoroughly enjoyed it. Life-changing.
Oh, how fabulous is that to hear? That gladdens my little Aussie heart.
Yeah. And she'll be watching this because she's a big Lena fan.
Oh, cool, cool. So let me explain, both to you and the audience, how this works. First of all, it's not a past life regression. There are specialists who do that. But with me, I don't go into the emotion of anything that's happening deeply. It's more about observing the lessons and the patterns and what's relevant to your life now, So it's such fun to do. So the process is, first of all, I'll pull half a dozen cards or so, and that will give us the bare bones of a story, just something to work with. But we don't know where it is and when it is.
Can I ask you a question before you get into it? Do you find, like, as you're doing it, it pulls up relevant past lives that are affecting the person maybe now, or
that's what I ask for, because that's to me the point. What's a relevant past life?
Sometimes it might be a more recent one, and sometimes it might be one
from it can be any time. It can be quite recent. For example, I do get a lot of immigrant stories through the US, Civil War stuff, sometimes different things, or it can be way back. So depending when it is in history, I can usually get a birth year, unless it's really a long way back,
Well, the first psychic I saw told me I was a very old soul. So let's hopefully not go back all the way to Jesus' time.
Who knows? Who knows? We've got a ticket on the Concorde, So once I pull the cards, I'll just quickly outline the story. You're a reader, but it's going to have very different meanings depending where it is and when it is. So I use the pendulum for that work, and then we go back to the cards. So that's sort of how it'll go. Okay?
Cool.
Shall we start?
I have a pen ready, so I'm going to make some notes too.
Yeah. Okay. So what's a relevant past life for Jen Lynn? A relevant past life for Jen Lynn. Past life for Jen Lynn. Sorry about the mumbling. You know how it is, people. Very esoteric.
I love your mumbling. I love your sense of humor in your videos.
Oh, thank you. Jen Lynn. Past life for Jen Lynn. All right. So we'll pull these cards out. I'll hold them up. Okay, so what we have here, it's sort of a weird card to start with because it's the Six of Wands, the victory card, or the new person riding into town, which could be you or someone else who influences this life. But like I said, we don't know where we are yet. Okay. Then you have to make a decision. Here you are at the crossroads. The decision involves the Ten of Pentacles, intergenerational money. So we'll see what's happening with that. Women are happy, or celebrations generally. Then big and rapid changes in the form of the Eight of Wands to your life. The Queen of Cups, she is the Queen of Hearts, the Queen of all emotion, turns up here. And the Sun card. So it's interesting just looking at this reading just here, normally with historical stuff, there's a lot more challenge and confrontation and stuff because people's lives were hard. So this is kind of just rocketing along. So let's find out where we are. Anywhere you'd like to start, Jen?
As far as country or time? Or,
anywhere in the world you'd like to start.
was it in Europe?
Okay.
Let's see if we can narrow it down.
Did this life happen in Europe? Did it happen in Europe? Yes, it did. Okay. So where in Europe? Oh, I'm hearing Spain. Yeah, something I'd like to say here, like most people who've watched my channel would know, I do hear things. Not so much when I'm doing my own YouTube videos, but it happens a lot more with private readings and these. So I think we're off to Spain, but let me confirm that because I don't want to go off on a tangent. Was this in Spain? Was this in Spain? Yes. Okay, so we're in Spain. Now, how I work out the time is we work out the century, and then we work out the decade, and then we work out the year. So that's why it needs a bit of editing. Yep. Yeah, right. Okay. So your birth year in this life, Jen?
1961.
61. Okay. Let's make it 60 to keep the math simple.
Okay.
Going on. So let's go here. So did this happen to 1860 to 1960? No. Okay. Was this 1760 to 1860? Yes. So if you could write that down, Jen, please. 1760 to 1860? Okay. Was Jen born 1760 to 1770? No. Was Jen born 1770 to 1780? No. Was Jen born 1780 to 1790? Yeah. Okay, so underline that. You have to keep track of my maths if I fall off.
Okay.
Okay, we're at 1780 to 90, yeah?
Yes.
Was Jen born in 1780? Was Jen born in 1780? Ah, yes. Okay, so we're in Spain. It's 1780, and you were born. Okay, it's just people who aren't familiar with the pendulum, or everyone works differently, but for me, back and forth is no, circles are yes. So we're now going to do gender. So when I do gender with the pendulum, back and forth is male, circles are female, right?
Okay.
Was Jen male or female in this life in Spain? Male. Okay. Now, we need to know, it's the sociologist in me, we need to know if you're rich or poor or in between, because life's going to be very, very different depending on your social strata, right? So we'll start at the top. Was Jen born to a rich family? A rich family. No. Okay. Was Jen born to a poor family? a poor family. No, that puts you in the middle. So it wasn't a middle class as such, but often those were the people with the trades and expertise of some sort. So let's ask, was this family in trade? Was this family a merchant family? Heard merchant. Yeah, heard merchant. That's the other thing that puts you in the middle, merchant class. So in other words, you weren't going with no shoes and hungry and all of that. You know, it was comfortable, as we say, within the context of then. So I like to go forward a bit to the mid-teens or even 20, because that's when people are making their way in the world. So if we take 1780, that takes you bang on to 1800 as a 20-year-old, doesn't it?
Right.
Okay. So we come back to our cards now. I want to clarify on this Six of Wands. Six of Wands. Was this you or someone else? Six of Wands. Oh, the Empress. Now, that would make sense. So I think this woman is, she may be a sort of Empress figure, literally, but certainly a high-born woman who takes a bit of a fancy to you, I think, because you were born to the merchant class, not the high class. But she could see you were bright enough. As yet, I'm not going to leap to the Lady Chatterley's lover scenario. I don't know. But somehow she was instrumental in you getting a lift in social circumstances, right?
Okay.
About 1800. That's when your path changed. Right? You were quite ambitious and determined to make money. Right? Make a name for yourself and your family. And that was quite successful. Right? People were happy. And then there were sudden big changes. The Eight of Wands. So let's go back to the cards and find out what those changes were. Because this is the missing bit of the puzzle, I think. What were those changes? What's the Eight of Wands? What's the Eight of Wands about? What's the Eight of Wands about? Ah, that's more like it, because we learn through challenge and adversity, and I was really puzzled by this really rosy sort of outline. Now we have the middle.
That was a joyful life.
Now we have the middle. You got married, and I suspect married up. I doubt it was a love marriage. This is the Four of Wands, which to me always is a bit a celebration that's not quite a full-on celebration. There's some compromise in the mix. So I suspect you married for, you know, land or power or access or something.
Okay.
And then you went off as the impulsive, we're going to say a knight, because we've got these medieval cards. You'd have to look up the history of what was happening in Spain in 1800. And I suspect it was sort of armed skirmishes were going on. I don't know when Napoleon was, but I think those sort of things. There were a lot of European wars, right? And I think you were involved in one of those. And this, as we know, is our night of impulsivity. It can be revenge, those things. So it's sort of the most extreme of the nights, right? That didn't end so well. Okay, then we have the Tower. So that would indicate to me that you went into a war situation for your district or you know, your baron, your lord, but it was a catastrophic disaster. So then who appears but the Queen of Cups? So I want to know more about this Queen of Cups. So we have you as a young man doing very well, thank you, marrying up, everything's going well, and then you go on this disastrous military campaign. So what's the Queen of Cups? What's the Queen of Cups? What's the Queen of Cups about? Okay, so the Ten of Wands is the card of hard work. It can also be the card of the martyr, and it's next to the Judgment card. So I think in some way, where was our Empress? We had the Empress before, right? Who she's the one who said to the other aristocrats, you have to take this young man on. He's marvelous, right? And she loses face through this, right? I think that's her again as the very sad Queen of Cups, because there's this card, which is hard work or the martyr, and the Judgment card. So I think you were blamed for the failure of this campaign.
Oh, wow.
Right, and that would have been a very big deal. You know, huge shame, mortification, danger, you know, in that, because you then go back down the social order to the Apprentice card and having to start again. Start over. But you did start over because in the end, you got the Sun card. Wow. So for me, normally, when a reading, I would say, like wraps up like that, you know, it's sort of, you get the guts of the story and the message it has to impart about not taking on other people's, you know, guilt and shame and all that stuff. I would normally go and do another one now. Shall we do that?
We can. I just want to comment on in this lifetime, because I do think this is resonating with now. I'm very careful when I do personal readings. I don't want to take on someone else's karma. So I will never tell someone how to live their life. I will give you clarity on decisions and options, but I am very careful to never tell someone what to do when I do personal. So I feel like that's part of why this story is coming through. I have been to Spain. In my younger days, when I was 17, our high school band and orchestra went to Spain, and it was lovely. And I went back once to a different part of Spain for business. But I was a merchant in this lifetime before I became a reader. I was a buyer at a
the merchant thing.
Yeah, I was traveling the world sourcing product, you know, so I did that for 40 years until I started reading full time.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a synchronicity with this merchant thing, you know, and providing, you know, wealthier people with product.
Yeah, totally. Same principle.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. How fascinating. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. Do you want to go another one? You could maybe...
Yeah, let's do this.
We'll see if we can cover some ground quickly. Okay, so you know how it rolls now. So because we're trying to squeeze a second one in, viewers, I'll pull these cards quite quickly now. Okay. All right. So first off the bat, which is sort of more typical in many ways, the Ten of Swords, betrayal, being stabbed in the back, often literally. We have the powerful but greedy king in the picture. You have an alliance, possibly with the greedy king. You've had the angel shining on you for a while, because here's the star. The Eight of Wands again, a rapid change of fortune and a rapid series of incidents, and the High Priestess.
Oh.
Oh, I'm intrigued. Okay. So, anywhere you'd like to start, country-wise?
Well, let's ask again, is it in Europe?
All right.
See if we can narrow it down that way.
Did this life happen in Europe? No. Okay. Let's try North America.
Okay.
Was this North America? Was this North America? No. Okay. Was this the UK? Was this the UK? Yeah, okay, we're off to the UK. Start with England. Was this in England? Yes. All right, England. So, you're born in 1960, so was this 1860 to 1960? No. So, we've already used most of the 1700s, so we'll go, was this 1660 to 1760? Yes. Okay. Was Jen born 1660 to 1670? Yes, 1660 to 1670. Underline that. So now we're going to track a year. Was Jen born in 1660? No. Was Jen born in 1661? No. Was Jen born 1662? No. Was Jen born 1663? 1663. Okay. Just keep an eye on that date. Okay, we'll do gender now. Was Jen male or female in this life? Female. Okay, so 1663, 1673, 1683. So 1680, I think you would have been 17, which isn't a bad age to go for, and it keeps the round numbers. Is that correct? 1680?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll do the rich and poor thing, right? Was Jen born to a rich family? No. Was Jen born to a poor family? Yes. Okay, so in 1680, you're a young woman and poor meant poor, right?
Right.
We know that. So it wouldn't have been pretty. So here we go back to the cards. The Ten of Swords. This was a massive betrayal at the time. I think we have to ask, what did it involve? Witchcraft, because they were all still pretty delirious then. So did this involve being a witch? Yes. Okay. Are we surprised? All the best people were. Okay. So, oh, hold on. I'm just downloading. Okay. I've got the guts of the story. So, very young, it was seen that you had the gift. You know how people rush off to church, but then they're always fascinated by this stuff. So you had a reputation very young. By 17, which is normally when you're married with 3 or 4 kids and stuff, you were quite established. And you did some work for the greedy king, and it worked, and you were under his protection at that point, right?
Right.
And you were a bit of a star. You know, it's a bit of the Joan of Arc story in the sense she was the peasant girl who the king listened to. It's a bit like that, right? But then the sudden change of fortune coming in here, the high priestess, and so I think you were betrayed by a jealous woman, which takes us back to the Ten of Swords, right? So it loops back. So what happens then? What happens? And I think you were still quite young. You might have been 20 or something, but young. What happened with that Ten of Swords? What happened then? What happened then? Oh, I think you managed to get out of Dodge because the moon, under the cloak of darkness, a brave action took place involving what would have literally been a chariot. Oh, and I'm hearing the king. He was mad about you. It wasn't a romantic love, but he was in awe of your gift and he organized it.
Wow.
He organized it. So we'll just quickly see what happened after that. And for a young village girl, you know, to leave would have been terrifying in itself.
Yeah.
How did things pan out in the end for this character? Jen's life after the carriage. After the carriage. After the carriage, what happened? Oh, you know, stuff. Lots of stuff kept happening. At first it was a relief. And this is the 3 women celebrating. I suspect you were able to take at least one of your sisters with you. Right? Because once someone had been identified as a witch too, the whole family came under scrutiny. And there's the 3 and the 3. So a mother and a sister or 2 sisters, you know, it was the 3 of Swords. Death in this case, which may be literal death, so in other words, tracked down. And here's this gorgeous Queen of Cups again for the thing. So I think it was either you were tracked down or it was a near miss, you know. You'd have to change your names and stuff and strike up in another area. But I think here the Queen of Cups came in and protected you. So I think it might have been you who met her untimely end, or it could have been one of the sisters from illness or other things. But there was a death that made your trio more vulnerable. And then I think the Queen of Cups actually threw her cloak around you, literally. And then I think from that point on, sisters, I'll just do another clarifier. Yeah. The Ace of Pentacles. You were secure from that point. So I actually don't think it was a killing of the witch. I think it was the brand new life after the heartache, the death of everything you knew and moving on. under the protection of this woman. So I think you had a miraculous escape, and I'm talking miraculous. And you couldn't have done it without him. I suspect he supplied the carriage. He, gave you a little pouch of money or a few jewels or something. I think he was very instrumental. I'm normally not mad about the King of Pentacles, but I think this is the generous King of Pentacles. Something that you told him originally really made an impression on him. Okay, does any of that ring a chord for you?
Well, definitely England. England is a country where I resonate very strongly, and especially the southern and western England, Devon and
Cornwall.
Yeah. I love, like, when I go over there as an American, I'm not hopping on tour buses and going around all the castles and everything, although I've seen a few. I love to go hiking on the coastal path. And
Yeah.
so I'll go over there as a woman alone, and they're always like, wow, you're different for an American coming over here hiking on
Yes.
the path, and a woman alone, like a woman hiking alone. So they get intrigued by that. But a lot of those coastal path areas are old four-in-hand carriage roads that wind down, and then they narrow down into narrower paths. And I'm always drawn to that, like the carriage. I can just imagine riding on the cliffs overlooking the sea in a carriage, so that always resonates with me. The Stonehenge and the stone circles and all the whether in Ireland or England or anywhere, I'm always drawn to those. So I can feel the energy there. When I go to those places that have a high vortex, and the stones hold that energy.
Yeah, for sure. And it's everywhere there. The places are so close together compared with the US or Australia.
Absolutely.
But I have a friend from the Orkneys, and they're the Outer Hebrides off the coast of Scotland. And they were occupied by the Scandinavians and everything before they became Scottish. But they've uncovered a Neolithic temple on Orkneys that predates Stonehenge. And so now all the thinking is being turned on its head. They're thinking that this knowledge and wisdom was passed and came south to Stonehenge. So that's interesting too. So if we ever fly again, I'd really love to go to the Orkneys and have a look at a Neolithic temple.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
3000 BC or something. It's seriously old,
That would be amazing. That would be amazing, because I feel like I can't think of the name of the place in Brittany, even that has a lot of stones. I feel like it all kind of like came down probably more from Scotland and down into England, so that resonates with me.
Yeah, and the Channel Islands are really interesting too. And I lived in the UK for 8 years, but I never went to the Channel Islands, and I regret that. I think I would now. I think they have very interesting histories.
I'm very drawn to. I haven't been yet, but I want to go to the Isle of Man, and Jersey, and was it
Guernsey.
Guernsey? Guernsey.
Yeah.
I'm very drawn there for some reason. So
Me too. Maybe we should do it together.
maybe in the dark of night, I escape to Guernsey off on an island outside.
It could well have happened. That there was a feeling of haste about that thing. It was like something out of Poldark or Outlander or something. That was what I was seeing. It was really like that. But it shows how impressive you were as a young, uneducated woman, that they would go to all that trouble, right? Because anyone who helped you was at risk. We've got to remember that too. So it speaks to the strength of your persona, in that time.
Well, yeah. And I think often, people ask me all the time, as a reader, I feel like we've done this work in past lifetimes, in some
we're coming home. Yeah.
Another,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just remember as a small child, there'd always be stories, in the family, but they're only shreds of stories of what's happened before. But I think we are bringing through that experience. There's no doubt.
Yeah, as soon as you pulled out that high priestess, I was like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, exactly. I was rolling my eyes at you, but because we were a bit rushed, we had to go there. I'm sure there's more to the high priestess story.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hope it gives everyone a bit of a sample.
Absolutely.
And that it's not scary.
It's not scary. It's informative, and it resonates with me because these are all places I've been that resonate very strongly with me in a positive way. Yeah. So as you were going through it, it was like when you first picked up on Spain, I was like, yeah, I always felt a great energy when I was in Spain visiting there. I always felt like I must have had an okay life there. Like not anything too rough.
That's right. But if you look on Wikipedia after this 1800, what the skirmishes were, and that the Spanish were involved in or something, you could probably pick out yourself and go, that looks familiar.
Yeah,
and that's the beauty of doing these. You can actually do more research, after to fill in some of the stuff, but fascinating.
It's great.
Oh, that was a buzz, Jen.
If somebody wants to schedule a reading with you, they email you at
lenarodriguez.tarot@gmail.com. And I'll send it to you, or you can.
I'll try to Thanks. In the description under the video when I post the video. I may do a little bit of slight editing, but we're not too long right now, so I might leave it intact completely as it is.
Yeah, see how it goes. I trust you. All right.
It can take a little bit longer, guys, if you're doing one. My friend Beth that I was mentioning, I think it took about an hour for you to do 2 lifetimes with her because there was a lot more detail that was coming through.
Yeah.
That I feel like you got a lot of detail on mine, but it came through very quickly.
Yes, but also I think that's partly, it's different because it's public and going out to the world. I think if I was giving you a one-on-one, we would have much more detail. It's like, it's a shielding. There's a certain privacy shielding going on, which is why I think you got the big, blocks of the story. Whereas if it's just me and the person, they tend to be much more down and dirty.
If we had more time, I would probably take her into asking if some of the people I know today were in this lifetime, those kinds of questions. We were trying to keep
short on YouTube. Is that you can ask me that as part of it, because often people do want to know. And it's the same, I think people can get confused between past life readings and ancestor stuff. So we can have lives in any connotations not connected with our, more with our soul families rather than our actual ancestors.
Yeah.
And at other times, actual ancestors will turn up.
For me, even in this lifetime, my soul family is much more important to me than my biological family. It's like you create your family around you, that your tribe.
Yeah, totally.
Well, thank you so much, Lena. I thoroughly enjoyed that, and hopefully that gives a great insight into people, how this works, and we'll try to get together sometime soon and do some political readings for everybody.
Absolutely, very soon. Let's do that.
Okay, so bye, everybody.
So bye for now. So if you turn off record, we can debrief.